thank you so much for watching, listening. We are finishing our series called Table Talk. I love this series. I think it's fun, makes you think a little bit, provides you some rich opportunities to have conversations with Jesus, come and dine. And today we're going to look at the last, what I would say the kind of one of the last meals, if you will, somewhat, with Jesus. And this is an interesting meal because we read about it in John 21. And in this meal, just give you a little bit of background for us, some context so you can appreciate what's happening when they eat together. So Jesus was crucified, right? And if you remember, Jesus had this conversation with Peter. You know, Jesus tells Peter before, you're going to deny me 3 times. And Peter's like, no, that's not going to happen over my dead body. And Jesus is like, dude, before the rooster crows 3 times, you're going to deny me. And Peter's like, no. So, but that's exactly what happens. Why Peter argues with Jesus now 2 to 3 years into this relationship, I don't know. That's another rabbit trail, maybe different conversation. But Jesus, Peter denies Jesus 3 times, rooster crows. Jesus looks at Peter, Peter remembers, and he goes out, weeps bitterly. Then Jesus gets crucified. Peter's watching from a distance. They bury him in the tomb. He raises for the 3rd day. Peter goes to see where he has no body in the tomb. Peter's like perplexed. And then Jesus shows up in Jerusalem at the upper room, and he breathes on him and says, receive Holy Spirit. So there's some appearances of Jesus, and everybody's like, what is going on here? This is not kind of what we anticipated. This is a little bit out of the box. And so Peter, along with 4 or 5 disciples, they go back to fishing. And I find this interesting because if you remember, the very first time that Jesus had some interaction with Peter was when Peter had finished fishing and he didn't catch anything. He's mending his nets on the shore. Jesus said, can I borrow your boat? This is back in Luke 5. And Jesus talks to a huge crowd of people. And when he's done, he says to Peter, hey, put your net over and you'll catch a big load of fish. Peter said, we fished all night. We didn't catch anything. We're tired. Nevertheless, at your word. So they throw the net over, they get this giant catch of fish, and Peter's like blows his mind. He comes, falls at Jesus' feet and says, away from me, I'm a sinful man. Jesus says to him, follow me and I will make you fishers of men. So that's one of the first basic conversations Jesus has with Peter is around this whole fishing thing, right? Peter was a fisherman. And so now Peter drops the nets in Luke 5 and he follows Jesus. He follows Jesus for the next 2 to 3 years. They lived together along with these other 11 disciples and several people. Lots of people followed Jesus and were day in and day out with him 24/7 for almost 3 years. Now, Jesus has been through this horrific experience of crucifixion, of resurrection, shows up in Jerusalem like, resurrected body. And now Peter and his buddies, they go back to fishing. And some people think, well, that's Peter, kind of failing. But some people think that Peter went back to fishing. Why he went back, I don't know. But I think he might have gone back because maybe he just wanted something familiar and stable since everything had been so turned upside down, inside out with the resurrection, crucifixion, all that stuff. So maybe Peter just wanted some normalcy, right? Go back to what I know, what's familiar, what's comfortable, and kind of catch my breath a little bit. Get out of Jerusalem, go back to the Sea of Galilee, then just fish, right? Take a couple days. Let's catch some fish, make a little bit of money, regroup, and figure out what we're going to do. So Peter's and his buddies, there's like 4 or 5 of them, they fish all night, and they don't catch anything. And then in the morning, in the dawn, John's in the boat with Peter, and there's a guy on the shore that yells out, hey, did y'all catch anything? No, we didn't catch anything. The guy on the shore says, hey, throw your nets on the other side. And they do. And they catch a huge quantity of fish. So this might feel like deja vu, right? We did this in Luke 5. Now we're doing it again in John 21. And again, this is table talk. So you're like, are you going to bring this to some kind of table? I am. Just bear with me. So they throw the net over, catch a huge thing of fish. And John says to Peter, that's the Lord on the shore. And I love what happens here. Peter doesn't do anything except he immediately, impulsive, classic Peter, love Peter because he's so very human. He jumps in the Sea of Galilee and swims to Jesus. And Jesus is on the shore, and they haul this giant catch of fish, and Jesus cooks them breakfast. And then it says in verse 12, Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast. Come and dine." And it's again table talk. Now, granted, I'm pushing the envelope. I don't necessarily think they had a table set up. I think it was more like camping, and a campfire and, grilling over a campfire fish. Nevertheless, Jesus provides breakfast for these fishermen who fish all night, didn't catch anything. Now they miraculous catch a fish, and now Jesus says, "Come and let's eat." I love that about Jesus. I love that Jesus comes into our circumstances and situations, and we may feel despondent, discouraged, unsettled, uncertain. What's going to happen? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Now what? Now what? How many times have you said that in your own mind? Now what? Jesus steps right into the thick of that. And maybe you worked hard all night. Maybe you've been frustrated because it hasn't been productive, hasn't been fruitful. You feel like you're kind of at your wit's end, unraveled, frazzled, all this. Now what? And Jesus is waiting on the shore and saying, "Come have breakfast. I made food for you." And I can imagine these men who have fished all night. I can imagine they smell the fish cooking. It's got to smell really good. There's some bread there. They worked hard. They pull up all this fish, and it's Jesus. It's Jesus, right? I mean, like full on Jesus. And he's saying, "I have breakfast ready for you. I'm ready to eat with you. I'm here to be present. I'm here to have some table talk." And I appreciate the conversation that happens with Peter, between Jesus, with them, is really powerful. They have breakfast. And then Jesus says to Peter, "Hey, Peter, do you love me?" If I was Peter, I'd be like, oof. Last time we had some conversation was that whole betrayal discussion. And I fell short. I didn't measure up. I thought I was, powerful and I could do it. And I didn't. I screwed up and I betrayed you. So now you're asking me, do you love me? And I think Peter was like, I do love you. I know that I'm flawed. I know that I'm human. I know that I'm weak. I know that I'm frail. I know that I want to be more than what I really am. And I don't think that's any different than conversations you and I can have with Jesus. Jesus invites us around table talk to have some honest conversation about who Jesus is, but also about ourselves. I'm not all that in a bag of chips. I don't have all the answers. I'm discouraged. I'm frustrated. I don't understand. Maybe I'm scared of the future because I don't know what's going to happen. And Jesus says, "I've got food for you. I've got time with you, and I want some conversation." But the backbone of everything rides on love, genuine love. And Jesus asks us, "Do you love me?" Well, yeah, I do love you. I know I can't execute on the love that I want, but I do love you. And then Jesus asks him again, "Do you love me?" "Yes, Lord, I love you." Third time, "Peter, do you love me?" And every time Jesus says, Peter answers, "Yes, Lord, I love you." Jesus says, "Feed my sheep, take care of my lambs, feed my sheep." And when we sit down with Jesus and we have table talk, the backbone of the table talk is always grounded in genuine love, that we are loved, and that because we are loved, we love. 1 John tells us that. I love because I am loved. He loved me so I can love. And I think sometimes when we struggle to express love, maybe it's time to take a pause, have breakfast with Jesus, and let Jesus love us. Jesus expressing conversation, time, breakfast, communion, fellowship, walking with Jesus. Take a pause. Let go of all the uncertainty and the fears and what are we going to do? Let go of all that and let's just come back to that basic table talk conversation of genuine love. That Jesus loves us, we love Jesus, and Jesus takes care of us, even if it's one meal at a time. So I would ask you to think about this question. in what way, how in this next week could you take a little time to have some table talk with Jesus? How would you do that? Would you maybe wake up a little bit earlier? Would you take a lunch break and maybe come off to the side? Maybe you take a walk in the afternoon. Maybe as part of your exercise routine, you might, switch off the music but in what way? How would you have, in the next week, how would you plug in some table talk with Jesus? And when you answer that, leave that in the comments. Maybe you want to put that in your phone, kind of make like a little date, a Jesus date. Maybe put a little reminder in there, it's on this day, this time, I'm having table talk with Jesus. I think it'll be some really cool conversation with Jesus. Jesus feeding you, Jesus having time with you, Jesus really pouring love into your heart. I think it's really powerful. And so thank you so much for subscribing. Make sure you hit the notification bell right there. Keep you posted on when we put up new content. And here's your concluding joke. This one's I'm going to tell you, this one's kind of lame, but not too bad, even by my standards. So here's your joke. I am a social vegan because I am avoiding meats. I know, right? But next week will be lots better. Thanks again.